Okay, we are in module 2 now. We've talked about kind of the background of the technology. So this module, I'm going to get into the art of asking questions. This is one of the most important skills, actually. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most important skills that you can have. It's going to serve you well in prompt engineering and life in general. You know when you're talking with a friend and they tell you something you've never heard before, you didn't know that, you're surprised, and you're like, why didn't you tell me that? And they say, oh, you didn't ask. Knowing to ask the right questions is key. Now you've got these AI tools that are always there to help you with that if you're not able to ask questions of an expert, a teacher, a friend, a colleague, whoever. And really, like this slide says, all discoveries begin with a great question. So if you look at the skills as well, what skills are going to be important going forward? Analytical thinking, creative thinking, of course, AI fluency. A big part of this is just being curious and asking questions. That shows a level of engagement, and that's going to help you. If you look at this quote, I love this quote from Carl Jung: to ask the right question is already half the battle. If you can frame, define the question that you're asking, you're well on your way to solving the problem. Of course, there's also critical evaluation of the answers. How do you know what you get back is the right answer? Because you are the stakeholder. Only you know what it is that you really want. And you think about it, the AI doesn't have that information. AI only knows what it was trained on, and which is general knowledge, of course, and also then what you tell it in the prompt. And that's what we're going to focus a lot on in this course. Context is everything, okay? You're going to hear the phrase context engineering. It's almost becoming a replacement for prompt engineering because the models have improved, but it only works with the instructions you give it. It only knows what you tell it. So think about this. Think about a manager asking an employee on their team to perform a task. If they omit any kind of details, then it's up to that person to make those decisions. They're going to decide how they do it in that particular way. If the manager wants it done a specific way, they have to tell them. So same thing, in your prompt, any details or information that you omit, the model gets to decide. And sometimes that's okay. For creative tasks, that's great. But for more specific ones, you have to tell it. Now, sometimes we don't know exactly what we want, and that's great. That's fine. AI is a super tool for brainstorming. Okay, so in that case, the types of questions, you're going to go through this pattern, and it's going to start out with divergent thinking. You're going to first be open to different ideas. You're going to ask for brainstorm ideas, give me different ways that I can do this, a broad discussion, you're looking for insights, right? So you're expanding your horizon, considering different options. Okay, then at some point, now you want to narrow and funnel back into your chosen answer or path, the way that you're going to perform the task. So in that phase, that's more convergent. So now I've looked at different options. Now I'm going to converge on my chosen path or answer. And you want your questions to reflect that. So in the divergent phase, sometimes you want to give a little less context because you want the model to give you ideas. So those are more open-ended questions. When you're converging on an idea, you want to be more specific, more closed-ended questions. You almost get to like, is this the right way to do this? Or what are the pros and cons of this approach? A related technique that you'll hear about is layered questions. So starting from the bottom here, list 10 startup ideas in healthcare. So if I'm thinking about starting a business, I want to use AI to help me. Give me a bunch of ideas. Okay, now I've got the list. It's in the model's context now. It's in the conversation, so the model is going to know about it. Now you can say, okay, we'll rank them by social impact. You could also say by profitability, whatever your criteria is. Now the model is going to refine that. So this is iteration as well. And you're you're adding more context to the conversation. The model has more information about what it is you're trying to do, what it is you're looking for. And again, these are probability machines. So all of that information is going to add to giving a better probability to get you the best answer. And then by the time you narrow down, you converge to expand the top idea to a one-page business plan, right? This is a very common pattern, and you want to get really good at doing this because it's so powerful. When you do ask questions, think about how you're framing them. I mean, as a kind of a silly example, maybe your friend says to you, hey, the weather was great today, wasn't it? That's kind of a leading question because they're already kind of in the question, they're embedding what they answer they're looking for. Usually, I don't see this problem as much. Usually people don't give enough information, but think about also the way you ask questions. And you're not talking with a person, you're talking with an AI, but remember, the AIs are modeled after how humans speak and how they write. So they're going to follow those patterns. So that's why it's important. It's also the reason why we don't a priori know how these models are going to respond because they're so complex. They're modeled after just vast amounts of data. But think about at the phase of the process you're in, how do I want to frame this question to help get the best answer? And there are different types of questions. So you can clarify, ask for more detail. You can funnel, you can dig deeper on a particular topic, or adjoining. Okay, this may be in the divergent phase, like you're learning about something. Okay, here's a related idea. Okay, let's hop over to that and talk about that concept. How are these related? Finally, then elevating. And sometimes you're like, well, let's back up a little bit, go to a higher level, evaluate there, and decide where I want to drill down next. And of course, to the extent that you can avoid bias in your questions, this is kind of on a related topic. Normally we think about bias in terms of what the model was trained on and how it responds, but we can inadvertently sometimes actually bias the model by how we write the prompt. So if you're looking for kind of an open-ended discussion, try to be neutral. Do remember that models can tend to echo back to you what you're saying. They'll reaffirm what you already think. So if you're introducing bias, they may just carry forward that thread, right? Following the probability. Like, oh, you're a Democrat? I'm going to talk to you in Democrat-oriented ideas and language. Oh, you're a Republican? I'm going to do the opposite. Maybe that's what you want. That, I guess, can be good in some cases, but other times you're not going to get balanced answers back. Finally, I want to leave you with this one. I love this technique, the 5 whys. If I'm struggling with something and I can't solve a problem, or just repeatedly this issue happens and I don't want it to. For example, I'm trying to solve a problem in my life. The 5 whys is great. You start with asking, why is this happening? Okay. You're probably going to get some answer, maybe more surface level. Okay, well, why is that the case? And you keep drilling down until you feel like you've gotten to a root cause. And when you get to that root cause, then you can address that. This is a fantastic technique. I use it in everyday life, in addition to problem solving, prompting, etc. So I think that will serve you well. All right, I'm going to stop the video here. I love this module. I think this is really one of the most important ones. So please do dig into this one. And I think we've got an assignment in this module. But let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in class. Thanks.